back to all my tiny tots, little ones, big kids, tweens, teens, everyone in between, CG slips and adults. So today we're reading chapters 11, 12, 13, and 14, I want to say. Hold on, let me check. I might be wrong. Hold on. I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on. It's way too far. My goodness. Okay, so we're reading 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. By the looks of it. Unless we want to start with chapter 12, we might as well. Sorry, I usually do this in like 4 to 5 chapter intervals. Because it just makes the videos easier to upload, post, and all of that. Especially when it comes to editing them, like all the timestamps in it. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so thank you all so much for your patience with me. My voice is pretty much restored. And I am so glad for all of y'all's support and everything. At the end of the video, I'm hoping to just throw out a few suggestions, and then if y'all could leave me some comments, kind of telling me what y'all would like to see, that'd be absolutely amazing. And if anyone hasn't told you yet today, I am proud of you. You are amazing. You are valid. You are loved. And remember to drink at least 1 glass of water and eat a little something, even if it's just a small snack. Let's get into the story. Chapter 12. CG, Skeppy, little bad boy Halo. Skeppy is taller than Bad in this, and Bad is shorter, so like reverse heights for the two. Bad is also more non-verbal little, so little babbles are just gestures when he's small. Content warning for swearing. Fuck, Skeppy yelled out as the plate he was holding slipped from his grasp, shattering all over the floor. Language! Bad shouted from the other room. Skeppy was confused, to say the least, until he walked into the other room and found his little boy sitting on the couch, sipping on his pass and watching Adventure Time. Skeppy smiled a bit as he walked over to the little boy and leaned down, placing a gentle kiss to his forehead. Hey, Bubba, how old are you feeling? Skeppy asked quietly as to not scare the boy, with his usual very projective voice. Bad yawned a bit, holding up 2 fingers and putting one down before putting it back up. Skeppy nodded and sat down next to the little, who snuggled into his side as he did. Stay out of the kitchen for now, okay? Bubba dropped a plate on accident and it broke, Skeppy said. Bad nodded, babbling what Skeppy would have guessed was an okay. He then proceeded to babble about the show, telling Skeppy what had happened in his absence, as they both really liked the show, big or small. Skeppy nodded and asked a few questions here and there to let the little know he was actually being listened to while going on his small rant about some of the characters. Eventually, Bad's babbling came to an end, and as he snuggled closer to Skeppy, another yawn slipped past his lips. Skeppy smiled a bit, placing a kiss to the top of Bad's head before turning his attention to the side of the couch where Bad's stuffed Enderman rested. Skeppy grabbed it, offering it to Bad, who took the step with a small babbled thank you. Bad babbled softly in broken pieces to a stuffy about the show. Once he finishes the timeline of the show, Bad clutches his stuffy to his chest, his head resting in Skeppy's lap. Skeppy smiles at him a little bit, throwing a blanket over his little before one of his hands finds its way into the boy's hair, gently scratching at the boy's scalp. Bad hums in content as his eyes begin to flutter as he sucks on his simple red and black deco pass. Around 20 minutes later, Skeppy carefully got up the boy in his lap. Having been asleep for around 15 minutes now, he thought it would be safe to get up and clean up the broken glass before his little one got hurt on it. He quickly found the broom out of the hallway closet and returned to the kitchen. Now, with broom in hand, he quickly swept the glass shards into a small pile, making a note to transfer them to a non-breakable container to give to Carl for later, as he could use the shards for his artwork. After he finished sweeping up the shards, he returned the broom to the closet and rejoined his little one on the couch, the little one now laying with his head resting on his Seiji's chest. So that's also kind of a personal headcanon, is that artist, Carl is actually a very talented artist. Although I'm sure he is IRL too. We just don't see it much. This is one of my favorite chapters that I've read so far, and it is also one of the longest, like literally one of the longest. I think this one's like 4 to 5 pages. It's long. Anyway, I hope you'll enjoy. Chapter 13, Little Fundy, CG's dad's son, Uncle Technoblade. It was a Saturday morning as Fundy made the very long trip to the snowy biome to go see his grandfather Philza. He stressed out and needed to get away from a majority of the people for a while, finding a bit of comfort in the fact that very few people lived in the area Philza and Techno lived in. After around 40 minutes of walking, he arrived at the house. He slowly walked up the stairs, raising a fist to knock as the door opened. Fundy jumped back a bit startled. Techno stood before him, dressed in his usual monarch-appearing outfit, his glasses resting on the end of his nose. As they made eye contact, Techno pushed his glasses back up and turned toward the inner area of the house. "Dad, Fundy's just arrived," Techno yelled. "Be there in a second." Fizzle yelled back. Techno nodded and turned back to Fundy. Give him just a moment. You come in, though. It's freezing out," the piglin hybrid said as he moved to the side, allowing Fundy to enter, shivering lightly as a cool wind brushed past him into the house. Fundy walked in, looking around. Everything still seemed the same. The wool red blankets still draped over the well-loved couch, the grape juice spill still visible on the carpet placed on by the fireplace. The books on the shelves with their worn spines still in their usual chaotic but precise organization. Fundy breathed in deeply, letting out his breath slowly. This was home. Fizzle walked into the living room, a wide smile on his face. "Fundy, it's great to see you, my young grandson." His voice projected with a fondness that Fundy wasn't used to hearing around others. He smiled and walked into Fizzle's embrace, returning the gesture. "Hey, grandson, it's good to see you too." Fundy responded, nuzzling into his grandfather's warmth, the familiar scent, pine and the faintest hint of cinnamon. I apologize, everyone. It's getting late. Phil pulled away from the embrace to get a better look at the boy. Fundy looked as he usually did, but slightly worse. While the others most likely didn't notice, he knew that Techno had noticed well. The boy was significantly thinner than the last time he had seen him, and dark bags rested under his eyes, the smile that rested across his face not quite reaching his eyes. "How have you been?" Philza asked, instead of voicing his concern, not wanting to worry the small fox. "I've been good. How about you?" Fundy answered, still avoiding Philza's gaze. Good, Philza responded. "Say, how are Will and Tommy doing? They don't get around here much more. Too busy, I guess." Fundy thought for a second. He didn't particularly know. He had been living with Agere after they adopted him. To be honest, I can't answer that. I haven't seen much of them lately, Fundy said. Philza nods. "That's all right, mate. Just thought you might know." Fundy nods again, fidgeting a bit. The familiarity of home was almost overwhelming as his brain was on the edge of regressing. All of the negative emotions and stress finally catching up to him. "Hey, you okay, kiddo?" Philza asked, concern lacing his voice. Fundy dropped hard, being pushed over the edge with a nickname and a genuine concern in the older's voice. He quickly shifts it. I apologize. He quickly shakes his head, tears rising to his eyes. Philza's eyes widen as he realizes what's happened and picks up the young fox. "Shh, it's okay. Grandsa's got you," Philza whispered into Fundy's ear as Little started to sob into his neck. "Go make him a bottle," he nodded to Techno, who nodded and quickly disappeared into the cabin's kitchen. Philza grabbed the blanket that was draped over the couch and wrapped it around the Little, holding him close as he took a seat on said couch. "Do you have any of your little stuff with you, pup?" Philza asked as he gently rubbed the Little's back until his sobs calmed his mouth with sniffles and slurred apologies. All the while, Philza continued to hold the little fox, whispering soft reassurances and making sure he got the care he deserved. Techno returned to the living room, bottle of warm milk in hand. He carefully took Fundy from Philza and held the bottle to Little's lips. Fundy hesitantly started drinking, the taste hitting his tongue, slightly unfamiliar at first, but seemed familiar and comforting. As he emptied the bottle quite quickly, Techno cooed softly, his little yawn, rubbing his eyes with bald twists. "Sleepy, Bubs?" he asked softly, Fundy babbling a soft response, followed by a shake of the head. Techno smiled as Philza stood and took Fundy back from his son. "How about a story then?" he asked as he climbed the stairs to where the bedrooms were. Fundy nodded viciously, yawning again and snuggling further into the blanket he was wrapped in, as well as Philza's arms. "All right, little one, let's wait a moment for Techno, so you can make sure I don't leave out any important details," Phil said softly as he sat down in a rock chair in the guest room. Fundy nodded as Phil handed him a small, well-loved whale plush. Techno entered the room, sitting down in an oversized chair in another corner of the room that that was next to the rocking chair Philza was perched in. You know, Pup, that Stuffy used to be Wilbur's when he was a kid, Techno said softly as he launched into the story about how Wilbur had come to get that Stuffy, having been a kid, always obsessed with sea life. Soon enough, Fundy was fast asleep as Philza looked over at Techno and smiled a bit. He got up and took Fundy from Philza, tucking the small fox in, placing a gentle kiss to his forehead, whispering a soft goodnight before allowing Philza to do the same before they both left the room, turning off the light and leaving the door cracked open. Later that evening, Fundy woke up, head still lightly fogged as he got up, looking around, trying to figure out how he got here and where he was. He realized he was in the guest bedroom as he got up, pulling on a onesie with some shorts and fuzzy socks despite the roaring fire. A chilly draft still slipped throughout the house. He made his way out of the room, noticing a new sign hanging on the bedroom door. It looked like the others on the bedrooms. His name was engraved in a beautiful and neat cursive on the wooden slab that was hanging on the door, a small fox face below the name. He smiled, a warmth spreading throughout his body as he carefully crawled up the stairs, sliding down on his butt. Once he reached the bottom, he stood up, toddling into the living room. Techno sat on the couch reading as Philza knitted something. They were making quiet conversation, but seemed happy in one another's company. One of Techno's puppies trotted over, headbutting Fundy's leg. Fundy giggled, gently scratching behind the puppy's ear. Philza looked up at the small giggle. Smiling at the sight, he set his project aside and walked over to Fundy. Hey, pup, he said as he crouched down a bit before Fundy. Fundy smiled and hugged Philza, slipping his passy into his mouth. Hello, he said softly. You hungry, kiddo? Philza asked, general concern lacing his words. Fundy nodded a bit. Mm-hmm. What time is shit? Almost 10 p.m., hun. Philza responded, carrying the little to the kitchen. He and Techno had made up some mac and cheese earlier in case the little boy woke up before then. He rewarmed the meal and put some in a bowl before handing it to Fundy. Thank you. Fundy mumbled words slurred behind his passy, a small smile resting on his lips. You're welcome, kiddo, Philza answered, kissing the boy's forehead. He carried the little back into the living room, smiling a bit as Fundy made grabby hands for Techno. Techie, Fundy cried happily, reaching out for the older. With his free hand, Techno smiled and took the little. Hey, bub, sleep well, he said. Fundy nodded, taking out his passy, ate his mac and cheese. He struggled to use the spoon a bit. Techno quickly noticing and taking the spoon from the little. Here, bubs, let's... I apologize. Here, Bubs, let Tucky help you, he said softly, feeding Fundy. Fundy smiled. He liked being taken care of for once. Philza returned to his knitting project as he glanced at the two occasionally as a way of checking up on them without saying anything. Soon Fundy had finished all of his food and Techno set it off to the side on the coffee table. Want me to read to you, Bubs? He asked as Fundy snuggled into his lap. Peace? Fundy murmured, words once again slurred by his passy. His eyes felt heavy, but his mind felt energetic. Can him kawa while read? You wanna color while I read? Techno repeated, double-checking the little's question. Fundy nodded, and Techno nodded as well. Sure, hun, go right ahead. There should be some paper in the chest under the table, he answered. Fundy giggled a bit, then pulled out the paper and some crayons, scribbling onto the paper as Techno read. After around 15 minutes, Techno looked up, Fundy standing before him, paper in hand. What's the matter, Bubs? He asked. Fundy said nothing and held the paper out to him. On it was a picture of him, Fundy, and Philza all standing together, holding hands. Above it, Fundy had wrote, or rather scribbled, my family. Techno felt his heart melt. Thank you, kiddo. Why don't you go show grandson your picture, he asked, handing the paper back to Fundy. Fundy nods and toddles over to Philza, who was finishing up his project. The same thing happened. Philza deciding that he was going to frame the picture and hang it up in the living room. Fundy started to yawn, eyes drooping shut as his head rested in Techno's lap. His new fox blush Philza had made him, resting in his arms as he sucked on his passy contently. He wanted to stay here forever. This was his home now. He was safe and happy here. He whispered out a soft "Wah-boos" as he fell asleep. Philza and Techno shared a glance as the little fell asleep. We love you too, Bubba, Philza and Techno answered, a smile forming on Fundy's lips behind his passy. Chapter 14. CG asked him to little Era Erin sat on the floor, knee-deep in little space. She was around 3 years old today as they sat, playing with small pony figures, her favorite movie, Trolls, playing in the background. They babbled quietly, giggling to their stuffies, a pig and a bird. A knock echoed throughout the castle, traveling down the hall into his playroom. Erin's eyes widened a bit. Before she gets up, toddling down the long hallway to the front door, they pull at the door, getting it to open a little bit. He peered around the door. "Hello," she said softly. "Hey, kiddo," Sam Dude replied, offering a small smile. Eric returned his smile with one of their own. "Papa," he cried happily, running out towards Sam and jumping into his arms, hugging the mentally older tightly. Sam smiled, holding the little one close to him. "Hey, little royalty, how are you doing today?" he asked. "Good," Eric chirped in response, smiling widely as she pulled Sam into their castle and down the hallway. Oh, I think I may have messed up. Smiling widely as she pulled Sam into their castle and down the hallway to his playroom. "Mom, I'm coming. Sit down, kiddo," Sam answered, continuing to be dragged down the hallway. Finally, Eric let go of Sam's hand. "Look," she shouted, pointing at the trolls dancing on the screen. "I see, sweetheart," Sam answered, smiling a bit, taking in his surroundings a bit more. A box of toys labeled 3 to 5 rested in the far right corner next to that. Another box labeled 1 to 2, and on the opposite side, 3 to 5 box, a box that said 6 to 8. He had been to Eric's castle very few times, and these boxes were an addition to say the least. He guessed that his kiddo had a wide range of ages that he hadn't known about before. Sam smiled a bit. He was going to add in an addition of his own. He turned back to look at his little one. Eric sat down where they had been before, coloring and watching Trolls while playing with his stuffies. Sam sat down beside Eric. "Mind if Papa joins you?" he asked. "Nuh-uh, won't go too?" Eric answered, giggling a bit. "If you'll allow me to," Sam said. Eric nodded, clambering into Sam's lap and handing him a crayon. Sam nodded the thank you and took the crayon, coloring the page on the opposite side of Eric's. Chapter 15. Mom and Nikki lit a wilbur. Nikki stood at the kitchen island, cracking eggs into almost complete batter. She heard soft footsteps on the stairs and smiled, humming to herself. Wilbur stepped into view a moment later, hair in his eyes and passing his mouth. He had on one of his knee-length skirts. Personal kind of headcanon almost. Just that Wilbur maybe enjoys skirts a bit more than his little. He found them more comfortable than actual pants, and a favorite onesie with his passy clip attached to it. Nikki turned as she felt small hands wrap around her waist. "Good morning, sunshine," she murmured quietly, maneuvering Wilbur up onto her hip as she stirred together ingredients. "Mama," Wilbur chirped happily. Nikki smiled and nodded. Mama's right here, darling." Wilbur did a little happy stem as he looked around the kitchen, which was brightly illuminated by the sun. "What for breakfast?" he asked quietly as his stomach grumbled. "Well, how about some milk and a muffin?" She answered. Wilbur nods, smiling. Nikki smiles and places Wilbur down on one of the stools around the island as she walks over to the stove, picking up a muffin she had previously made that morning. She cut it in half and handed it to Wilbur before making him a sippy cup of cold angel milk. Wilbur babbled softly between bites of muffin as he wiggled in his seat happily. His mama's muffins were the best. Once she was done making up the milk, she put the lid on and handed it over to Wilbur as well before returning to her batch of cookies. She finished mixing up the batter and looked over at Wilbur, who had finished his breakfast. "1 second, Prince," she said as she began to dish the batter out onto pans and placing them into the already preheated oven. Once that was done, she walked over to Wilbur, picking up the little. "All right, Bubs, what should we do today?" she asked quietly, nuzzling her nose against Wilbur's. Wilbur giggled from the action as he thought. "Can we go for walks?" he asked shyly. Nikki nods, kissing them into the younger's forehead. "Sure, sweetheart. Any specific place you want to go?" Wilbur shakes his head. "Nuh-uh, just one walk with Mama," he said, words starring together as he aged down a little. That's the end for today. To all my tiny tots, little and big kids, tweens, teens, everyone in between, CB slopes and adults. Thank you all so much for listening, and make sure to check out community. I will be posting a couple of things over the next couple of days, asking for y'all's opinion on certain series and ideas, and just kind of, what y'all want to see in general. I hope you have a fantabulous day, night, morning, evening, afternoon, or whatever it may be for you. I'll see you all in the next one. Farewell for now.